Three, two, one. Jamestown Calif on Twitter.com, YouTube.com, Jamestown, California. This is take 4 regarding the state of the emergency going on. Today is Saturday. And the last time I did a video was on Wednesday. And a lot has changed since Wednesday to Saturday. The governors in New York, California, and other states have asked residents to stay inside and only go outside for essential needs. They're not really specific on what businesses are essential and what are not, but McDonald's, I'm not able to get a cup of coffee because the drive-through lines are just absolutely ridiculous. What's happening is they did not ask the main question all week while I was doing videos, whether people are viewing them or not. I do hear the language repeated in different forms of English or sentences on the news that I watch. At least the news that I watch, at least they're on top of the issue, and it seems like they care about what is happening. Now, what's happening is the number one question. I thought about it yesterday. It took me all week to actually think about it, but I was considering if this is the bottom line here. And that is this virus replacing the normal getting a cold or cough, or people get the flu every 5 years? Now, what I mean is every person, every couple years, this time of year gets ill. They get sick. They get the flu comes around every 5 years. The cough comes around every 2 years. And people stay home and fight the fight. And the people that are working are out there with their immune systems against it. Now, what they're not telling us is this new pandemic, and that's what it's called now, is this replacing the normal wear and tear on your body, or cough, or flu, or cold is the word that you give kids the word when they start coughing and just start being gross? And what's happening is that's the number one question, because the economy has shut down. I proposed and suggested more than just the cash reimbursement for this month or this week of a $1,200 to $1,500 or $2,000 funds for people automatically. And that's where they're talking about. However, there was absolutely no talk about people's loans with car companies or with their homes or their businesses. That's not counting businesses' payroll. That was discussed, and that seems to be the direction where everybody's stressing out and showing you on television what restaurant owners are going to do. Now, the way you could have addressed this issue is if it is replacing the flu and cough, I can understand having emergency and drastic measures. But if it's not replacing it, I don't know if the shutdown is equivalent to what is about to happen. Now, the blame game going back and forth, and James Woods on his last Twitter feed showing people eating, I'm not sure if they were baby bats or what, people blaming the cause and effect of this chemical or virus that's happening, and it's hitting really hard in New York, in San Francisco, in the United States, those two areas specifically, where the drastic measures of 5 counties in California have almost complete shutdown. And in New York, the governor has ran out of medical supplies. Totally unprepared for this from the 2011 swine flu, or H1N1 as we call it. From that moment, the districts and congressional leaders should have already in their own districts had been prepared and had stockpiles in case of an emergency. They were not successful. They were not on top of the issue because they didn't think it was either going to come up or it wasn't important enough at the time. From 2012 to 2020, that gave them 8 years to act. And now New York, the number one state in that area, in New England area, that state now has ran out of medical supplies. What's the worst part about this is not being prepared is people that have other illnesses or things that are normal wear and tear, like not your car but on your body, like a person just needing his appendix removed. Now all those surgeries and other medical needs are kind of pushed to the side. Insurance or no insurance in certain areas. We're just not only not capable, not prepared, but we're not acting organized in all of this because we're not telling the truth about what the cause and effect are. Now, the cause and effect, you're going to have to go look at why has our economy shut down and who's going to benefit when this is all done. And interest rates are going to be low. And what's going to happen is the giant is just going to, like Pac-Man, have the ability to buy up all those loans that people are being defaulted on because of the shutdown and because of Congress not being quick enough to get relief. It's not just the cash in the pocket to get to people that pays their rent or insurance to keep those policies or contracts active. It's the other ones like the car payment and the house payment and all the payments that go with the house payment, such as the insurance. And also what's going to come down to is the property taxes. And there's just absolutely no person organized enough to be as intelligent enough. The things that I've proposed in this 7.5 minutes, and they're not either able to do it or they know what I'm saying and they're not willing to do it. And those are the three big things. Of course, the cash in the pocket is appreciated and it's needed for people, and the people that filed their returns in 2018 will be able to easily or easier get that money. And that's smart of the administration. But they need to go a little further. And the 90-day deferment plan is the only way to go. And by not doing the 90-day deferment plan, you're going to ruin everyone's credit and drain everyone's savings. And it's going to be a big, unfair economic competition when this is all done. Because like I said, people won't be able to qualify for new loans to buy houses or businesses because this is going to show on their credit as late as their finances get drained more and more. Now I'm going to go to Walmart, and when I went into Walmart from Sunday and how the shelves were empty and going in there Wednesday, I was impressed with how Walmart restocked those fruit shelves. And I'd like to thank those avocados and the avocados from Mexico when all the shelves and fruit and everything was completely gone. There was still a bunch of avocados there where people, they weren't ripe, but I was able to pick up 5 avocados and they did last me all week. Californians do eat avocados with their sandwiches. And I was really impressed with how Walmart restocked those shelves. There were less people in there Wednesday, mostly because people were hoarding from the week before. and they had to eat those supplies. They don't want them to go bad. Also, they ran out of money or have money they got to pay other bills. So it was a little slower in the middle of the week for people to be able to go and get supplies. Like they say, to go and get essentials before the order early in the week, I was going out just to get water or something small. And when I went to Stater Brothers, as the water was completely, the shelves were cleared, you have to ask the employee and they'll bring you one case of water, and there was one bread available. So I like to thank Stater Brothers for at least putting at least one case of water and one loaf of bread aside, so when I was ready to buy something, not hoarding, that was available. And that's going to be a big thing, because there's another thing that they're not talking about. And while everyone's hoarding, the weather's really nice and it's cold. And had it not been the weather being nice, and for example that the weather was hot, and the stress on the utility companies, that would be a whole different ballgame, because then we're at the mercy of that plug. And that's something that no one's talking about. We are not prepared for an emergency. And no matter how much people are hoarding, there is no secondary grid or backup plan or generator yet that I know of, or solar power backup grid, that if those refrigerators do clonk out next month or in May in a state of emergency, all people are going to have to start eating their food faster, and it's going to go bad, and then there's going to be a completely different issue. That's where we do not want this to lead. And it just shows that the government and the states, you're not prepared. You've allowed unfair competition to happen so much that little businesses haven't been able to put a balance on getting better technology, so other electricians could have already been working on second and third backup grids in case the utility companies do go out. And I do remember PG&E in Northern California last summer, the government or the people in charge at that time had rolling blackouts. And for people that wanted to prepare for this before all this and just freeze all the food in case this was going to happen, or they were just going to freeze it, well, that eliminated that ability to prepare 6 to 9 months ago because of those rolling blackouts. And at that moment, people should have started to get on the ball, and the government did not do anything to put any incentives or tax breaks or ideas forth. See, it's like you're watching these commercials over and over. And I really don't know what commercial's starting to be more hideous and atrocious. Is it the Navage commercial where all the people separate in boxes after they, change the screens? Or the other commercials like the Invent Help, pretending that they're going to help you if you come up with an invention. When I had a lot of or extra money and I had a business and I was working, I invested in Invent Help. In one of those watches, I called them a child locator. And it was a GPS watch that right now they have a whole different idea. I forgot the name of it. I wrote it down. And the military supposedly was the only person that had access to that. From the other few ideas that were similar to it, I paid $700, and the Invent Help gave me a lot of good paperwork of the other people who had similar ideas. And this is before Twitter and YouTube. And they wanted to market the idea, but I had to continue to pay and pay and pay and pay. And after $700, there's really only so much you can pay. So that idea kind of got squashed. And other people were able to utilize selling that idea from Invent Help to another source, just like the banks. selling your loan, your business. I'm going to switch to that topic right now because people who do have loans in their business, those loans sell the loan to another person and then they sell it to another person. And because Congress is not acting quick enough to have this 90-day deferment plan while they're telling you to shut your business down, that is the most important thing about this shutdown, because when you get your credit ruined and you run out of money, you're not going to be able to rebound right away by yourself. And the big business is going to not, it's almost like this is part of what's happening. Now, I've been reporting on chemtrails and watching these planes spit out junk to produce these fake clouds that want to hide the sky and the sun, while different celestial bodies want to pass through the sun, and you guys don't want us to see it. You're willing to sit there and spray the skies all over the world. England, United States, every country that people have been already broadcasting and giving you the information, and the plane spitting out all that chemtrail chemicals junk. No one reports on it, and no one ever asks the question, well, by the time that stuff gets down to us, is that affecting our health? Does it? Has it? You've been doing it for the last, I don't know, I've been noticing it only for the last couple years. But it's been going on longer, this geoengineering, longer than 2 years. But I noticed it mostly in 2017, 18, 19. And literally, when you would take a picture at one of those planes that are way up in the sky, it's almost like they noticed you photoing them, because a light would come up saying, hey, what's up? I see you. So it's almost like they were trying to scare you while they're spitting out chemicals. No one's saying, hey, are those chemicals doing anything to hurt our public health? Well, I just don't like breathing in the junk, and I was already kind of staying inside a little bit more, because some days they had sprayed the skies so much that I could just feel it. It was just so gross. And it did limit me to wanting to go out more. That. And I was already aware of it. Never reported. The news yesterday is doing the Alexander report when President Trump says you're a bad reporter. It's because they don't report on the news. That means the Jamestown, California show and channel is the information's getting all the way to the top, because I'm hearing keywords and then it's being agreed on, and it's being the media, because they are not telling the truth. They are doing some politicalization on all of this. And it's unfair, because not one of them were able to ask the president or the health person the number one question. And that's where I'm going to leave this video at 20 minutes. Is this 19 virus replacing the normal flu, cold, or cough, as you would call it? So that means if you haven't had the cough in a couple years, and then you get sick or you get the cough, instead of getting the cough or the cold or the flu, are you going to get the 19? That's where what I want to know, because that would eliminate all my questions. Because if it is replacing it, I can understand the emergency and taking certain measures. But if it's not replacing it, then I really don't understand all of this. And why at this time, it just seems like the economy at the last juncture of the Republican terms, there's always some trick. And it's why people who are conservative just don't like voting for your group, because you always mess with the economy, like in 1987. A lot of people don't like to talk about 1987, but there were a lot of different reasons why the market crashed in 1987. People had information where the cash was already being laundered, And because something happened in the middle of all of that, people got the information and bought and sold. And that's going to bring me to my next topic, the Senator Burr topic of selling stock, knowing about the severity of this, and then deciding that it's time for him to liquidate his assets before everyone else has the chance to. Because if everyone else would have had a chance to liquidate their assets, some people might have more money in the bank to prepare for this emergency. And those 3 or 4 weeks were critical. Now, you guys I don't know if this is a stunt, because you would think by now, with the markets tanking and you're telling people, the president, the governors, the cities, the states, the city councils, saying not to open or only essential business can open, what you're doing is not only shutting down the economy, you're not telling the people the truth of the severity of this 19 illness. And by answering the simple question, is this or is this not replacing the normal cough? The reason why I'm asking this is because people like Kevin Durant and basketball players have started to get it. They're getting the test while others are not. No offense to Kevin getting a test and others not, and they're getting it just by wherever they travel. They were in San Francisco. So how did they get it? Now, how does it go from China to San Francisco while they want to sit there and blame people telling us that we're all germs? I'm going to go to the next topic. The world war that was occurring before all of this. The Syria campaign. The world war that the Syria regime using Iran and Russia and China weaponry to bomb and kill about 1.5 million civilians and displace another 3 million. And now they're asking the world and the U.S. to relieve sanctions so they can help with this 19 virus. And the way they've broken every single ceasefire, and the way Iran has crisscrossed from Iran to help the regime and spend about $6 or $8 billion of their economy to destroy and kill civilians. I just don't understand the logic of relieving sanctions when they're only going to break another ceasefire and use that to go after civilians more, or again, as there's a ceasefire right now, the virus being blamed, but they're going to go back to it any day. There's been little skirmishes still going on. And the reason why the Syria campaign is important was because when the Turks started using sophisticated weapons and evening the tide of the war and showing those 3 countries that they do have some muscle in that region, when that stopped is when this happened. Now, the way I'm looking at it, it's in 2 ways. I watch the news in Russia and read their newspapers and the news in those areas. And right before all of this, the regime state ministries who've already threatened our State Department already started classifying people as germs. And people started reporting on the language that they were using, germs, specifically germs, as 1930s language, without getting into it. And this is why the failure of a National Socialist society is absolutely brutal for the Constitution, business, capitalism, freedom, people, their ability to work and go from one job and improve and get a better job and improve and be prepared for these kinds of emergencies versus suppressing people, versus the government charging people for their relatives and families' deaths, the inheritance tax. Well, people getting having to pay taxes on their inheritance is just totally unfair. That's money for them, for their business and future, and you're taking a piece of that? That's why you do have the money to help people in this time. My topic here now is the World War. And when that tide was changed, and the United States did not intervene or say they were going to enforce a no-fly zone, where the old United States would have definitely had no-fly zones there. What are we afraid of Russia, what they would do, or China, if they were to retaliate? And what the bottom line of all of this is, they're not two countries that have a bunch of people, entrepreneurs. They hoard all the money and all the capital. So when the economy is ready to rebound, and you've spent all your money, and your business is busted, they're going to have the ability to buy those loans, and they're going to own you. And right before all of this was happening, I was already calculating how the Russian and Chinese mafia were going to retaliate, because they took heavy losses in about 2 to 3 weeks in the Syria campaign. Heavy losses. Money, people, and also psychologically, they are a little more afraid to go up there, because there's Turkey now in the mix. Now they have, for some reason, ceased fire on Russia's terms, but I'm already expecting ceasefires to break. And the fact that these people know that 19's going on, and then they continue to bomb civilians instead of coming up with an idea to work around the ceasefire. They already got the M4 highway down there and got 1,500 extra kilometers. Let's just see if our adversaries want to leave it there while they already have more than it's fair for them, or if they're going to want to take more. That's where you need to start looking at when those ceasefires break. Because then Iran is going to crisscross from Iran to Iraq and to Syria, and then the virus is being spread, not just how they say from bat soup, or videos from James Woods of people eating insects or bats or bugs. And it's different than that, because you're not telling us, how is this 19 being spread, and why is it so easy for people to automatically just get it? And why are people in Mike Pence's staff getting it, the vice president? And then my next question, the Brazilian leader coming to the United States affected. He knows he's infected. Why is he getting close to the President of the United States? Why are the Democrats attacking the situation in a political way, including the media that works for them? Because the president's right. What he said made me laugh. You guys just don't report the news. Because if you were to report the news on things like chemtrails, maybe that's causing this in different cities. And it's not just the Wuhan virus. And then my next question, the granddaddy of them all, 5G. How 5G gets people ill, and people already know about it. Respiratory, heart attacks, the whole 9 yards. 5G is able to cause health defects and health issues in people, and people are suffering already from 4G, and you're kind of putting 5G now in the mix. I don't know if you're trying to make our immune system stronger or what have you. 5G. Is 5G part of this stunt? Are you trying to make our immune systems different or stronger? And by having 5G and everybody at home, automatically you know what everybody is going to want to buy. the next Christmas season or the next one. And that's not the way to do business. This idea sharing, information sharing, selling loans, selling information. We needed to look at what Facebook was doing because they don't have the right to eavesdrop on listeners or viewers or users. You need a warrant to eavesdrop on a person. So if the government and the state or the law enforcement need a warrant, why are they getting a free pass and not allowing eavesdropping to do that? So all this is happening at one time. And another issue that I was talking about in my other take, where idea sharing and science fiction, and we're aware that all your movies and stuff that have to do with science fiction's all bought and paid for by our tax dollars and agencies that they hoard all the information. They don't give you the truth. They're not telling you that in China there are these things hiding in clouds, and there's a lot of good video on it. And I took some video of that I thought looked like that in 2010 or 2011 and actually put it on my Facebook before. And that I kept some photos. I have always thought that that's possible. Now, I'm not going to start getting into science fiction or science fiction movies, but what I am getting at is while everyone's bored at home, not watching Lakers, not watching baseball, they're stuck watching the news. And then they'll move to YouTube. And then YouTube, you're going to be watching things that you want to watch. And that's, I believe, part of this is the government's way of breaking the ice to people without telling them about this issue, so you can have your own conclusion without them officially making a statement. So you're going to all go on YouTube and eventually see something that you see on video. You're going to be like, whoa. You know? It's a great topic. It's great science. We need to start getting more discussions about it. But this is their way of breaking the ice, in my opinion. The next thing I want to talk about is people getting this illness, and now broadcasters quarantine themselves. I heard Lou Dobbs, you quarantine yourself. And, you know, it doesn't get worse in a day when I have to watch your show, but I did watch your show a couple of days ago because there was nothing else to watch. And your show actually provided a little bit of information out of all the people that were trying to give information or not reporting. And we don't want people to get ill. And watching these broadcasts with these split screens and people not sitting next to each other is just absolutely hideous. Now, what do they know that we don't know? Why are they not sitting next to each other? And why every time someone coughs, they look at the other person like, why aren't you quarantining yourself? That's my question. And I'm going to conclude this report on a reporting on the 19th as they shut down business. And they have not done anything except to propose a $1,200 quick cash grant to people. They have not talked about the 90-day deferment for people who just bought new cars, used cars, house payments. They need that cash to pay for their insurance. In my case, my insurance was due at midnight. I had to buy new insurance. I bought new insurance. No one was able to go and buy insurance for me or say, hey, you got a month to extend your insurance. Same thing with the DMV. I have a registration due. They're not giving my registration tags 30 days of a grace period without suffering late fees. So we are all going to bite the bullet. I am little by little just paying out of my business monies to pay for this and pay my rent today now for my stretch. And if I do have to tell my landlord that I can't pay, that's what the cash is for. I'm hoping that I don't completely go bankrupt, but I've already gone in the minus $1,000 just in a week, and that's staying home. So I don't understand how people could sit there and not want Congress to act or get people cash in their pockets. It's a 3-point plan. Cash in people's pockets, 90-day deferments for business loans, house loans, car payments, so it does not affect your credit, so you don't have to spend your savings on that. And also, since they're already talking about those that filed last year based on your earnings, they're going to give you the money on the automatic $1,200. That's very important because they can also use that card to do that while this entire emergency is going on, and that would relieve the stress and pain if every month they are able to do that. Because if people know that they're going to at least get some cash to pay their bills, they won't stress out as much. But if they don't, and they're starting to get kicked out, and their landlord's saying, we don't want you to stay here anymore, and you're not giving the correct information, you need to address the public and give them a specific way this started or how this is being spread. Why are other people getting it in different parts of the world? Is it from the air? Is it something that is going on because of the rain? Other things like chemtrails, like 5G, getting people sick. Why New York is just getting hammered? I'm questioning this. We're going to have to leave it right there. That is Jamestown Calif on Twitter.com, YouTube.com, Jamestown, California. And I'm doing my best to report right now, going out and staying in the city limits. A day like today would have been beautiful to go to Huntington Beach. And as it's getting warmer and warmer, you go to Huntington Beach, then you buy something to eat. The economy's open. Right now the economy's shut down. And it's shut down before you're telling people how this 19 is being spread. If you tell people the truth, it gives it a reason why what you're doing is justified. But right now, shutting down the economy and forcing people to be closed, not only is it not fair, but it is just incomprehensible what you're doing without the truth and without the information. Is this replacing the flu or replacing the cough or replacing the normal cold, where a normal person would normally get a cough or cold and now is getting 19? Or are people going to still be getting coughs and colds and you're exaggerating of the severity of this? And why are there not more test kits already available in the mail so people could already self-diagnose and then self-doctor through the internet to be able to tackle this? Those are the three main things while the economy currently is shut down. And it's not just that it's shut down, that a person that's doing one restaurant job, he gets laid off, he goes and works at another job, or tries to go and work as a DJ, or tries to go work in a different business or different kind of work. There are no other kinds of work because everyone is in the same basket. So now everyone needs to start thinking outside the box. People like me, I quit and gave up journalism because I didn't believe in what I was seeing in journalism, and I felt that it was just pointless to continue to do something if I couldn't make money doing it, and I just stopped doing journalism. And I promised myself that with my new business, that I was not going to conflict my old business or my old work with my new work. And when I did allow it to conflict the very first time, going up on the radio in that stupid food show, Dining with Dills, and telling them that I work for a certain company and I'm doing this kind of work and talking about these restaurants, the very next week my company got bought out. The very next week, my little company, the company that I was looking for a house in Riverside County, working with them for 2 years, bought a car, getting ready to buy a new car, and I was ready to continue investing in my future and in my economy, and it all got completely erased when one company bought out the company I was working for. And because I broke that rule, I've suffered personally. And I've told myself that I do not want to go back and do journalism while I'm doing my own business to conflict. That's why did not reopen my website that was getting 4,000 hits a day. That's why I'm not using certain websites and only getting Twitter for information. And I didn't say that for publishing or doing other work, but when it comes to journalism, I'm just discouraged because there was money to be made in journalism during the Obama years with companies being able to get information and buy publications and get subscriptions online, and advertisers by people getting information into those groups. And you guys shut down journalism. You closed down and you laid off all those workers and all the big papers. The Tribune buys the LA Times and decides to do it their own way. If you're a conservative, you're not going to get a job in that field. And that's just the way it became with journalism. It was pointless. As pointless as the Russian Constitution allowing Vladimir Putin to stay in power till 2036. Pointless. Absolutely pointless. However, I do leave the options open when it comes to publishing and getting into other nonfiction, but I'm so good at the news. I get the news before the news gets the news. And I want to say that I'm really, really disappointed in the news media, because if I get the news from certain groups and you're not reporting the news in a certain way, I'm questioning the truth level of your reports and reporting. And that was fair yesterday when the president leashed out. As much as I do not like President Trump leashing out on journalists or broadcasters, I thought that was kind of funny. It made me laugh. Because, Alexander, you could have asked a better question with that airtime. And you could have asked, Mr. President, this is the question you should have asked. Is 19 replacing the flu, common cold, or normally getting a cough? Where a kid or a person, broadcaster, or someone in your staff just gets a cough, and it's not a cough, but it's 19? Or are there separations? So if a person gets the cough, you don't have to exaggerate about what's going on. Or is he not getting the cough and getting 19 automatically? Meaning, is this thing that strong of a force where it's taken over the immune system, taken over a cough, taken over the cold, taken over even the flu? And is that what's happening? Because if it's not replacing and not taking over like that question, then what are we doing shutting down business? And why are we in a state of an emergency? YouTube.com, Jamestown, California, and Twitter.com, Jamestown, Calif. Thank you very much.